Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. I'm actually coming to you today from Papagayo in Guanacaste in the northern Pacific area of Costa Rica. We're at our 8-bedroom luxury villa here in the northern part of Costa Rica. Actually, I'll just show you a quick view here. Excuse the mic if it goes, but I thought I'd show you where I'm at the moment. I don't know if you can see that's ocean out there, right at the far back. Beautiful. Anyway, so today we're actually going to be talking to Mario and Manny from Loop Design. It's a boutique architecture and design studio with a focus on sustainable architecture. We're going to be talking to them about the design process, what advice these guys have on building here in Costa Rica, and what to take into consideration with regards to the biology and also the climate when constructing here. Remember, guys, please give us great reviews on Spotify, also Apple, thumbs up, and also some comments on YouTube. All of this stuff helps us. It allows us to get better guests on the podcast going forward to help you guys out with more information. Remember, if you have any comments or questions for Mane or Mario, all their contact details will be in below. And if you'd like to see topics covered in future podcasts, feel free to email me. That's info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. Let's get started. Good afternoon, guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Hi,
Great.
how are you?
How are you?
Fantastic. It's the first time that we've ever actually had 4 people, including myself. We've had 3 people before, but this is the four times. It's the first time we've ever had 4 people. So this is pretty interesting. And I mean, a lot of knowledge and experience that you guys have got up there. We've got Mario, Mane, and Marcos from Loop Design. I gave you guys an introduction there. Again, I think you guys all kind of touch on all facets of the design and architectural, kind of sphere when it comes to building here in Costa Rica. So this is going to be very, very interesting. Thanks for coming on the podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us on.
You're welcome.
Great. Well, I'm gonna direct the questions to each of you just so that it doesn't get confusing. First question to Mario, which is the one that I always like to ask people at the start of the podcast. Like, it's been a crazy year for everyone in different ways, different aspects. But I mean, what has surprised you recently, Mario, and why?
It's funny because, for example, at the beginning of last year, a lot of people doesn't want to invest anything in projects, and also we have projects that wasn't passed for a while. And nowadays, for example, a lot of people are looking for investments, for example, in the beach and the mountains, everything, because people want to be away from the cities, from the downtowns everywhere. So people want to have a better connection with nature instead of staying at home. People are doing more projects now than before. Yep. And more regarding houses and even offices, but out of the city.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that you say offices, just because I know quite a few offices have now either, here in Costa Rica, and I know in other countries have set up remote offices here in Costa Rica at the beaches as well. Or they've just gone, we're going completely virtual, but we're going to build an office at the beach so that everyone can kind of come out here. So yeah, I completely understand that. I mean, just to give us an idea, Mario, are you seeing, the majority of your projects, are they for foreigners or are they for Costa Ricans? I mean, what would you say the mix is?
For foreigners, for sure, for example. And we have like a couple of houses here in San Jose, but the majority of projects are regarding in for example, Nosara, Santa Teresa, all those coast areas. And also we're doing like an office project in Nosara. It's funny because it's like a new project there. Never been seen before.
Wow. Well, lucky people, whoever gets their office out there in Nosara. So, hey, I'm in Papagayo at the moment, up in Playa del Coco in the hills above Coco. So I can't, this is our kind of remote office, but I can't complain. Well, Mane, I want to jump onto you, something that's been kind of floating around quite a bit in some of the podcasts that we've been talking about, the bioclimatic design. For us mere mortals, what is bioclimatic design? Why is it important? And what role does it have to play in construction?
Okay, it's actually really important and most of the people don't take it into consideration. Bioclimatic design, usually what it does is take into consideration the climate so that you can design according to it and you can design a project in a specific site. For example, each project obviously has a different location. So regarding that, we know where we can locate the project, and we know where the sun path goes, where the ventilation goes. And it's really important because it's going into our roots, like our humanity, like the way we have evolved and we have created our cities. It's always regarding the climate. And nowadays, like the last 10 years, people haven't considered it and have just built like normal buildings with a lot of glasses, and they're all the same. Like you go to China, you go to the US, you come here, we all have the same kind of buildings, right? With a lot of glasses on it and all the facades, but we all have different climates. So the people in those cities react differently, right? And we're not used to that kind of building. So it's really important to consider it in order to provide more health to the people in the spaces and more comfort, basically.
So, I mean, give me an idea. I mean, if you're going to be building, let's just take Nosara because it came up. I mean, if you were building in Nosara, just because I know that there's a lot of stuff happening there at the moment, a lot of construction. I mean, when you look at bioclimatic design in Nosara, what do you take into consideration?
It's the same, I think, in every region that you're gonna construct or you're gonna build something. You have to take into consideration the solar pathway, the wind direction, like the hardest wind that comes from a different direction, not like, because the wind changes a lot, but you have to determine like the most that you have, at least 8 months in a year. And then you can design upon that, because if you locate the project in a proper way, then you can optimize or have more energy efficiency in the project. And it will be like starting like a more sustainable project, having the proper way to start a sustainable project.
So, I mean, you're talking about ventilation from the point of view of not using so much air conditioning, of really taking, using the natural resources around you.
The idea of bioclimatic design is not to contemplate using air conditioning, like trying to make the building be thermodynamic. That this will mean that it will accommodate in the climate. So when you're cold, the building has to provide you heat. And when you're with a lot of heat, the building has to provide you ventilation or give you a better space, like more comfortable space.
How the hell do you do that in somewhere like Nosara where it's hot? How could you not have air conditioning in Nosara or at the beach areas in all over Costa Rica?
That's why it's really important to do this analysis before, because if you know the solar pathway, you will know all the angles that the sun has, and then you will know which way you have to protect or which way you can use the sun. For example, regarding a kitchen, if you want a window pointed, for example, to the east, then when you wake up, you will see all these rays coming into the sun direction coming into towards you. Then you will feel better because you will be according to the transition of the day. Or then we will know, for example, in colder areas, if you want to gain heat, then we will know if we open a window, we can make the building absorb all this heat. And in the night, if it's colder, it will release it, for example, through the windows or through really thick floors. Like, this is the concept of thermodynamic building.
I would never even think about some of this stuff, but I know that I know that Roberto Meza talked about this a while back. I know that you guys work together with Sfera Sostenible, with you guys. So he'd mentioned that, about having long eaves to keep the sun off, and also the ventilation. I mean, it's just incredible to me that it's possible to have a house in Costa Rica without air conditioning, especially at the beach. So you're saying it is possible?
It depends on the place, because when you do the analysis, you put it into a chart, and this chart is a specific psychometric chart, it's called, and it will tell you in which hours of the day you will need assistance of mechanical ventilation or not. It depends if you stay in the comfort areas, like in a zone, there's a specific zone where our bodies feel comfortable, then you wouldn't need any mechanical ventilation. But in some areas, you probably will need. It doesn't have to be air conditioning. It could be just like a normal vent or like a fan, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot in San Gerardo de Dota, so I don't think I need AC there, because it usually gets pretty.
No. You don't need to gain solar, like the heat.
Exactly. Well, I mean, great response. Thank you very much. I'm sure a bunch of people are just going to be contacting you guys to want to know more about that stuff. Mario, I mean, again, I know you guys spend a lot of time out on the street, as I like to say here, kind of working. I mean, where do you see the opportunity to invest in Costa Rica at the moment? And then also where would you personally invest?
For sure, in a beach property, because I would love to have like ocean views and everything, and a place with a lot of contact with nature that you can go out and have like this blur barrier between the interior space and the outdoor space. I don't know. I would love to have like a property in the beach with ocean views and solar heat and everything, but in a good way, right?
Whereabouts would you have it? I mean, if you were to buy a place, where do you think is a good place to buy, and where would you personally want to buy?
Nosara is a good place for sure. We're working a lot in Nosara, but it's also because they have a great sense of community and they have some good infrastructure. But the most important is this feel of community, that the people are good people, and there are a lot of people from different areas, different countries, and they have like a really good connection with nature, and also like a good relationship with people, and also with the community, with the culture and all of that.
So, I mean, is that where you would buy as well? I mean, if you were to buy a beach location, if you were to buy 2 beach locations here in Costa Rica, where would you buy?
Nosara and Puerto Viejo, because those two are too different between
We're
each
talking
other.
Puerto Viejo on the Caribbean side, right?
Yes, in the Caribbean side, because Puerto Viejo is more wild and natural, and it's completely different from Nosara, for example. But also you get good wave, and I don't know, it's different culture also, because in Limon you have this Afro-Caribbean culture, and in Nosara you have all things regarding seeing the houses and all that. So it's completely different, and also the weather is different, because you have more rain in Limon than in Nosara sometimes. I don't know. It would be nice to have both.
I think that's there are 2 very, very good areas. I mean, Nosara is probably a lot more expensive than Puerto Viejo. I love the culture in Puerto Viejo. It's completely different. It's kind of Costa Rican Caribbean. The food is great. I mean, it's probably one of the best locations for food, and people are just like, what? And I'm like the Italian Caribbean influence down there is pretty spectacular. So
completely agree with you.
Yeah, I could see Manny's just dribbling over there thinking about it, but. Marcos, let's get you talking, because I've asked most of the questions to Manny and Mario here, but random question, just because I'm personally looking at putting tiny homes on my lot at the moment in San Gerardo de Ota, but also I'm starting to see a bit of, I saw an AirDNA report the other day that like more unique properties like tiny homes are renting a lot better than typical vacation rentals. So, I mean, what's your viewpoint on tiny homes?
Well, actually, we are building one right now in Nosara, and it's definitely tiny, but a huge experience. The reason is I think there's more thought into a tiny home than when you have a lot of space that you can spare.
Yep.
And man, you can't spare any space here. You just have to see where you put some storage, where even the room, the cups, where everything is going to be, and it has to fit right into place. So it's really exciting to be doing that.
How big is it? The one
I
that
think
you're building?
it's 14
square meters.
14
Wow.
square meters.
That really is a tiny home.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
I personally lived in a place that was 12 square meters for like a year.
Wow.
And when you
had
all
a
this
job,
creative
right?
ideas,
You weren't living on the streets. It wasn't like a cupboard or something. It was a tiny home.
I'm not gonna say I lived in a car for a year, but it's super nice to see how creative you can get in the process, because you really have to put a lot of that into it. And what we like about this movement, I think the most important thing is that it makes you consider what is really the fundamentals of living, what are the basics that we really need. And even though we don't get tiny homes most of the time, we do try to apply this principle of minimum footage and the footprint on the lots, especially because we think that if you're coming to Costa Rica, you want to be outside, right? So why build this massive building, this massive house that you could bunker up if what we like to enjoy is the exterior and the outside? So maybe designing or providing that tiny home makes us more conscious about spending more time outside.
And efficiency and all that also.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, how do you guys deal with the sun in this? So let's talk about, I'm going to jump back to bioclimatic design here, because again, I mean, if the sun's hitting a tiny home here, I mean, the bedroom is probably elevated just to take advantage of the space. I mean, that sun's hitting that roof, it's getting hot in there, right? So, I mean, are you putting like tile on the roof? I mean, what are you guys doing to keep the heat off?
You have to put a lot of insulation on the walls, definitely, because in such a tiny space, you don't want to gain any heat, or you don't want to feel like all this different climate change, right? So put a lot of insulation and try to have all this heat, air come out of the building. So probably we'll have to make an opening in the ceiling so that the heat can circulate, and you will have like this ventilation, cross ventilation in the tiny home. And there's a lot of things you can use to protect from the sun, or to try to cool down the wind, for example, like vegetation. You can contemplate to put your tiny home close to some vegetations to use it as your favor in the design, like in the climate. And yeah, I think like those are like the most important things. Put a lot of insulation and protect from the solar radiation as much as you can.
Also, as Mane was saying at the beginning, the location is very important. Where do you place the house in the property? Yeah. And that is also the most important thing, I think, at the end.
For example, like if you put it in a horizontal way, you know that you can cover the most from the solar radiation, as if you put it like in the shorter length, you will receive a lot of radiation on both sides the whole day.
Yep.
And then so it's putting the proper location so that you can help the design or be more comfortable in the space.
I think that's great feedback. I mean, I didn't even know you guys even did tiny homes, but I just kind of threw it out there just because I've seen a lot of stuff is trending towards them. But I've got a friend actually that's building one in the city. He has a lot, and he's going to he's building 2 tiny homes on it to rent out on Airbnb, just because, again, I think the cost to do that as well, based on his revenue that he could get, is better than him actually building a concrete home. So, yeah. Well, I'm going to ask all of you. I mean, when designing a home, and maybe I've asked some of these questions, we've kind of answered them, but when designing a home in Costa Rica, what aspects do you typically find that people overlook? And where do you think people go wrong in the building and design process, apart from not considering bioclimatic design, of course?
Well, we already talked about one of those, and it's insulation. A lot of people forget about insulation, and that is so important. And more in, for example, in Nosara, Guanacaste, Limon, whatever place in the beach or ocean or whatever. So people used to forget about that. Also, spaces for mechanical rooms. Sometimes the people forget that there are some things that we have to take in consideration. Even, for example, like a good window system.
Yep.
That is so important sometimes in order to don't get a lot of heat inside the house. That is some of the important things. Everything regarding sustainable systems.
Totally. People come up, typically thinking and dreaming about the swimming pool and this nice kitchen in the living room.
Yep.
They don't think about a pantry or storage, or how's your bathroom going to work in relationship with the room. And so I've come to find that a lot of people, they're really eager that their building starts building up right now, and that they want to move to Costa Rica next summer. But they tend to make a really brief schematic design process. And we as a team, actually, we like to expand it. We like to invest a lot in that specific area, so that we know that the project is entirely resolved before we put a single brick in the lot. And a bad practice would imply that a lot of changes or malfunctions are going to happen during the construction. So that's what we try to avoid. And it's something that typically the clients don't understand, because like I was saying, they're really eager to start their project in Costa Rica. I mean, who wouldn't? So that's something I've come to find that happens a lot.
What about you, Manny? You have anything to add?
No, I think that also, as Marcos was saying, like at the beginning, contemplating your site, like not every site is the same. So you don't have like the same neighbors, you don't have the same vegetation, or probably you won't have any vegetation, the same conditions, like just analyzing the context, not just the bioclimatic analysis, but also doing an analysis of the context so that the building can respond properly to where it's going to be built.
I had this teacher in school, and he always told us that if you moved your building 5 centimeters to whatever direction, it was just a whole total different building. And that's super right. because when you go to the lot and you get the feeling and the vibe and you feel the breeze and you get inspiration by the trees and the animals and the views, it's a whole process. It's a really nice creative process. And I don't know if a lot of clients are aware of this, and they usually try to move forward into, I don't know, permitting or doing a bunch of the legal stuff. But this is part of creating a really nice piece of architecture wherever is it that you're going to build,
that responds to the requirements, to the site, to the culture, community, everything.
And at the end, it's really important because in the space you're gonna be, it's gonna influence on how you behave and how you feel. So if we don't take into consideration all these conditions and analysis that we're gonna have in the site, then we're not gonna be able to give you a comfortable space and make you feel comfortable and make you feel like taking into consideration your health and how you, for example, the house that you would want to build wouldn't be the same as Marcos or as me because we will have different conditions or we want different things. So that's also something important to listen to our clients and put it into the project.
I think that's great feedback, guys. I mean, and again, I don't think people should, I know that people get excited, but I don't think they should rush into building here in Costa Rica just because, take your time with it because every single season here and every month is different as well. So, like at the moment, we're in the green season, so we get quite a bit of rain. Here in Guanacaste, we had rain this morning. It's going to be a beautiful sunset this evening, So, it's not like building wherever home may be. If this is your first time here in Costa Rica, my advice is listen to experts like your guys self. Do take into consideration bioclimatic design because again, it can save you money, it can save you time. But I think also, as you just mentioned there, Manny, it's just that feeling that you get at the place as well. It kind of needs to feel one with the person that's going to be living in it as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's easier to erase a wall in the paper and not to bring a wall down in the construction.
Very true, especially when it's concrete and it's got rebar in it. Yeah. So, Mario, maybe we've answered this kind of with a bit of insulation or maybe some other stuff. But what investment or extra cost do you think that smart people should include in their property and why?
Well, we already talked about this, and it's time at the end. For example, time to do a good site analysis, time to do a good schematic design, conceptual design, all that. To spend time on that, I don't know, is well spent time, right? For sure, because at the end you make sure that everything is into the design, all your requirements, all the things that you want to achieve for the design or your project. And also to spend time during the construction documents, because in that way you are going to minimize the different the problem that you maybe will have during the construction.
Yep.
So as Marco was saying, it's better to erase a wall in the paper than a wall in the site, right? So
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. Don't rush in. To building here. we just see it so many times where people rush in and they end up having something they didn't want and it's very difficult to change. So, basically, plan to fail, not fail to plan, right? So,
Yeah. And also, as we were talking, for example, sustainable systems and gray wire systems, solar panels, all that is a good investment for sure.
Yep.
There's another extra cost if you want to use that term. But that actually pays off, especially now in pandemics that we've been forced to be contained inside. And what we like to promote is this comfort in being outside. Not all of us have a privilege. If you live in a tower or something, but if you live in a regular home here in Costa Rica where you have a backyard or a courtyard or a front yard, to spend more time in there. So we try to promote these activities like edible gardens, like composting, recycling, permaculture, apiculture. And actually, these are practices that we've been implying in the projects even before COVID. But what they create is that we spend some part of our day outside. And it's really important. Oh, Manny knows best of this, but for all the benefits that we have in our bodies, right? Trying to fight this of being contained in a really small room that was not even prepared for us working there so many hours. Most of us just work in the kitchen or in the living room, right? Which wasn't planned for this. So it's important to promote those activities outdoors.
Yeah, I mean, I built an office in my garden. I think on some of the first podcasts, people saw it kind of being built. Going back, I think I'd have had my windows a little bit bigger just to let the light in. But I drove the construction guys nuts because I was with them every single day, watching everything they did, moving stuff left, right. I wanted the windows of wood, so I had the windows made of wood just because of that feeling. In retrospect, I'm not too sure that's a good idea, but it made me feel good anyway. But anyway, let's jump to the last question here, which you can all answer individually. I suppose let's ask Mane first, because ladies first, of course. Mane, if you inherited $500,000 and had to invest it into a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you do with it and why?
I would try to go to the coast, probably the south part of Costa Rica, in Osa, or the peninsula de Osa.
Yep.
Because I think it's with an incredible nature, like amazing, and I would like to create maybe like a community, like Mario was saying, because in all the designs that we do, we try to make people be aware of nature and be a way to be in contact with nature. So I would love to have a space where they can just feel like in a retreat or in a specific place where they can just relax and feel in contact with nature and just be themselves, like be really conscious about everything that's going on around them and everything. So I think I will go to the south part of Costa Rica.
Awesome. Marcos, let's go with you because Mario went first.
Sure. I've actually thought of this before. So I would make really good use of that money. Probably spend $100K in a really cool van. Where I could
a van, $100K in a van.
And then I'd use the rest of the money to, I don't know, live a year or something on the coast. And actually it's not too far of Mane's idea of forming part of this comunas. That's a name for it in Spanish, where people have a lot in common, like sharing food, and sounds a little bit hippie, but it's not like that. You have a lot of principles that try to make your community grow, or that make you have a sense of a community, and then you support local. And man, what best way to provide some economical support to the local,
I completely agree with you, Marcos. I mean, I think we're seeing just a general trend. We went to this, probably in the 80s and 90s and maybe 2000s, to this like world globalization, of just like big supermarket chains, even with beer. I mean, just Diageo beer, just like this few companies that own everything. But now I think we're seeing this all being like, ripped apart, and people looking to kind of, go to fresh farmers markets just because they realize is what we're putting in our body is not great. I mean, I live in a 60 house condominium in the city, but like I got tons of lemons in my garden, tons of avocados. I mean, I don't know what to do with all my lemons sometimes. I could give them to my neighbors. They give me oranges or, cucumbers or stuff they're growing in their garden. So, I mean, I think I agree. It doesn't really take much to create a community, right?
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. That sense of sharing.
Yeah, I agree. I love the van idea, by the way. Now the 12 square meters makes complete sense now.
Hey, that tiny home,
Yeah. A tiny home. What about you, Mario? What would you do with it?
For sure, I would love to have a house on the beach, but actually regarding business or investment, it is a great idea to create a community. Again, I think that we all agree with that. But also, for example, regarding business, there is a lot of digital nomads that came here to Costa Rica, and there is an opportunity for that community, maybe focusing that a specific market, or even create this kind of community, but for a market that doesn't have any choices right now for middle-sized houses, something like that, because right now there's a lot of houses for people with a lot of money, big houses with ocean views in top of the hill. But for sure, it would be nice to have like this another type of houses, small community that can bring all this concept of sustainability and also regeneration into a project that could be affordable for some people like us, but also that keep all these concepts of sustainability and regeneration.
I agree. I think just in general, people are always looking for community, whether they think it or not. They're looking for people that have similar values with them, and they're looking for that community. So I think we're about to see a huge push towards people creating communities. I mean, I think we've started to see it like again, Alegria, all these other kind of, these communities of just like, which went huge because on Netflix with Zac Efron, but like those kind of, like-minded people are just, they're realizing that they don't have to wait till they're 65 to go and live the dream now, is that they can still work and live the dream kind of together, but they're just trying to find their community in paradise, basically.
Yes, and also because right now, because of the current situation, people are looking for this connection with nature, this connection with people. Like we know what is important now, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Well, guys,
And also regarding,
so go ahead, Manny.
sorry, I just wanted to say, like, regarding creating a community, also not to close up into the community, but also like Marcos was saying, open up to the local people and getting to know people and learning from them, because we all have like different experiences, right? So it's part of being a community.
I agree. Well, guys, I'll not keep you any longer. I really appreciate the three of you's time. I know you guys are very, very busy. I get a lot of projects. Whereabouts are you guys? Are you in the city at the moment, or are you in Nosara?
Yes, we are here in our office in San Jose.
Okay.
Usually we go to Nosara once a week or something like that, but this week we are going to stay here.
But we have a lot of Nosara in here. Check out our background.
Well, awesome. Well, I mean, I'm in Playa del Coco, Papagayo at the moment. Then I'm down to Tamarindo, then Hacienda Pinilla. Then I'm down to Playa Herradura this weekend, and then back in the city. So yeah, so I'm working my way kind of down the coastline here. But again, the three of you, I really appreciate your time. I think you gave some great information. I'm going to put all your contact details in the description. And I think anyone that wants to reach out to you guys that's thinking about developing something here in Costa Rica, that really wants to take in bioclimatic design, also sustainable, architecture, which I think is a must here in Costa Rica. I think it's a must to contact you guys. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
No worries. You guys have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.